Sonam Lage Jinso Jibe Sonam Jen Dola Benje Sanjen Dovarash Sanje Judan Soje Sonam Lai Janju Bardo Dani Japsonje Lage Jinso Jibe Sonam Dola Benje Sanjen Dovarash Sanje Judan Soje Sonam Lai Janju Bardo Dani Japsonje Nage Jinso Jibe Sonam Jen Dola Benje Sanjen Dovarash. From now until enlightenment, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, and by the merit created in this practice, may I attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. From now until enlightenment, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, and by the merit created in this practice, may I attain the state of Buddhahood. From now until enlightenment, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, and by the merit created in this practice, may I attain the state of Buddha. For the benefit of all sentient beings.
분석을 저원들고 타연도에서 공에서 말이시지 또 시작이 보더라 그저 야다 공부를 다게 우마자와 셔럽나라 다 덤베 같은 덤베고네 또 잔자이니까 강기 투쟁이어서 따와 탐제 빵배치 담배치는 던지베 고담달라 자살로 제송리 다 디기다 가르친 거 알아 오늘 또 돈다디요나 탑시 줌분들왜 냠랭지 땡기어래 상거도 강기 투쟁이어서 하즈디 덤발라니 베직 만한주 처음에 베다 냐면 쪼데 잠니지 장주기 잠니실 두용 거래 디인들라 두자와 전부 베 푸도 좀 용수서 봐진자 답기찬이 됐대 따와 담제 빵배 지를 세대 따와 아니 베 멤버 빵수디가라 따와 한방 왠지 메고네 따와 한방 돈도 양답 따와지 길에 깨베고네 답직 오늘 디지멀리 버점be 인사 딘디기 답에 답시 송력이 냠 람스냐네 아니 랑게 되냐는지 젤라테 뜸be 인사 따와탄 좀 담배치는 던지 봤으니 고담텔라 차서로 고담마스다 그좀 고담마텔라니 자자에 루스진다 도잔제딩을 당원에 답시 송들 람 랑게 인연len지 젤라 뜸번 제바보 딘디기 에네베 뜸바 나니 뜸바 마라지를 있다 뜨는 거다 딘디지 과게면 디그메서 것도
in the text Fundamental Wisdom by Nagarjuna, he appreciates paid homage to Buddha Shakyamuni, saying that the verse the one who holds dearly the compassionate mind, and one who has abundant all concepts, and the one who has shown the path of Dharma, I pay homage to you, Gautama Buddha. So in this verse we can summarize and say that mainly this shows appreciation to Buddha, mentioning the importance of method and wisdom. The first line, when it says the one who holds dearly compassionate mind, it talks about the whole method aspect, compassion, loving kindness, all method aspect. And when he says the one who abandon or eliminate all kind of thoughts or conceptual thoughts or philosophical thoughts, with recognizing distorted view, and then eliminated all those distorted view or mistaken belief, and then kind of showing a true path of the practice or the true Dharma here, and I pay respect or homage to you, Gautama, fully ordained monk. So here Nagarjuna is paying homage to Buddha Shakyamuni in such a way that just like Buddha went through these experiences of understanding and realizing these two aspects, method and wisdom, not only he went through the experiences and understanding, but he also taught the same to others. And likewise, so for us as a follower, we the message that we can take from this is that we can do our best in understanding and applications of this method and wisdom together.
와다 때니 인데라 다 따와 nemba 마부지어래 따와 nem바 되기디 뭐다 쳐베고는 왜 짐베고니 양탑벨 따와지 윤레끼니 양탑벨 따와디 냠nen지니 랑 유레케 바치 지고 와래 양탑벨 따와생데 간데 제지디가라 아니 도천이 답하기 가지고 치나 간제 나랑주 낭주 밖에 추두두두한 낭댕인데 낭줄디 시고 와래 대시 발라 된중기 던 마시나 대시 두야거나요 말에 때는 중에 던데 때는 중에 던데나 타라 릭숨 채는도 아기 어름지기 어다티게 깡가라 과 용과데 과태투가데 시우지 내 전부 차고 와래 디 중이나 땐중 세들라 지단에 중망베나 릭페 갈보 땐리기 텐지세기 와래 땐중기 때는 좀 두지기 리바들라 리피 잡고 땐리기 텐지 잡보세야 돼 가래 리바 먹어요래 데메 두지기 리바 캉디요래 남기 텐지 남등기 텐지 다시 경고 텐지 무식 경고 텐지 될 계속한가 디레테 땐리기 텐지라 리피 잡고 세야 돼 때는 중와 땐중 세야 되더라 시직마도 요 말데 디 시지디기 다다의 체당이가 설능 selgidu sigdoa sichigi tenin jung sidi ngaranzu ten sidigala 직 파게 tenni mendekinji mahimba ngaranzu nangzulde yulguni sutudu tubashi nangora sutudu tubashi nanashinji yo marzalana pettega di kwadi norchi tenni mehal kondu kwari tenime mare tensaji yor sidigala 당연 타모 tensaji yor sidigala 직 체다데 실고도와 베티가 오다 중 시digala 딱베타데 오다 두스는 간제 따지기 타니까다 아니베 직에 실기여자 디왕기 이렇게 잡보세야 돼 오다 과텐디지 만들어선 거래 이 전다 리파테게들라 타니 지저서 니바예베데 감에 숭금이다 수지 옌케바도 저게 된 숭금이다 땡들 땡질라 이 니가 설제 니바야르 시디가라 지 잡보세야 될 거한테 인사를 좀 그두시
when we say wrong philosophy or wrong philosophy or wrong doctrine, there could be many forms and many types of this wrong philosophy or wrong doctrines. And so obviously first thing is we need to identify wrong as a wrong, mistaken as a mistaken, and then through that identification we can come to the understanding of valid, true philosophy or doctrine. And in this text we are talking about kind of looking from the reverse side, the opposite kind of side. We are talking from the object of negation. Wrong, as we were talking before, the appearance that we have of phenomena or things, that things exist independently, objectively, or inherently, or intrinsically, and we have that mode of appearance. However, that mode of appearance is merely appearance; it's not a reality. So, in order to understand the reality, we need to destroy the wrong appearance. And to do that, what we need is we require knowledge of dependent origination, the wisdom or intelligence of dependent origination. And dependent origination, as you have heard from His Holiness teachings, there are at least 3 different types or forms of dependent origination. And dependent origination is considered as the king of all reasoning to prove, lack of inherent existence of phenomena, lack of independent existence of phenomena. And the reason why this is called king of all reasoning is because through this reasoning, one can avoid falling into both extremes, the extremes of nihilism and eternalism. And at just with one word, this dependent origination. In Tibetan word Tendel, there's a 2 word, dependent arising. So simply kind of mentioning or using this one word, one will be able to free from 2 extreme. By mentioning or having that understanding of the first part of the word, then, reliable or dependent, that alone kind of, when we say that things doesn't exist independently, inherently, objectively, we are not saying that things doesn't exist completely, it is saying lack of inherent existence, intrinsic existence. However, saying a dependent, it means it exists. And if you ask how it exists dependently. And so the first part kind of, avoids or free from, this nihilistic view. And the second one, it says arising. Rising kind of, again, frees from the second part, the eternalism. So therefore, maybe this is a reason why this reasoning of dependent arising or dependent origination is considered as the king of many different reasons, to prove lack of inherent existence. There are reasons such as, 4 corners or 7-point reasoning. There are many different logic, but this is considered as the king of all reasoning.
What that 가본 휴지래 지난 몇배 미집 가보래 자모 동반이 쓰리가라 제름 버치게 오늘 담보 딜라니 베에 내가 많이 간라 네직 바게 제름 버치게 라모 우마기니 지순점이양라 도지지들라 우마빠 라마 우마빠세다 공 카마르스 송도하게 하는 버치게 송해라 와다 공 감변안에 참도하지 와다 공 충분히 얘네 지진 잠배야 잘지 용거래스 얘네 지진 잠배야 잘지 용해야 돼 라모 우마팔은 낭은 잘지 용해야 돼직공 추지질패 내가 얘네 리 니쿠데네 니츠 세연데가라 얘네 배 지진 잠배야 군도 나쁘지 잘지 좀 승도가 와다 배 라모 우마파 충분히 뺐다가 지진 잠배야 잘지 좀 이제는 뭐지 네배 마중디 갈라테배 따웨 론도 주지드네 네배 파년신시 잠비앙라 두스체 에니 주고 제르무체 란라 네배 제르지 중디 갈라니 이 잠비앙 게 제르무체 에니 그런 두스 삼당 그런 데니데 두스 삼당 그러서 이 제르무체 꾸구미 두스 마고나 그런 배 너 부더벌리다 안에 배 자샤르도 사거레스 딜타나 망반은 다낭에 랍샤게네 펜백켄도 기로지 용그리서 송도와 어다 원에 딘디인디가라 나란소 샘중고예요 말에 원에 나란소 밀레바지요래 마고아데 아니 공연이 쓰레 고글 마고에 마고 고민도스네 아니 양 줌데 말타 유샤 유요 말에 양양도 삼당거든 15개 침벌에 줌베 봉발에 털어 말해서네 ngumuluru sungdoa oda tindigala chik tendegi sem jumbale digala rito so samata injanju ki sem ki pain to so samata pobakya ki tendegi samata gyundu nyamlen to sujene nyamlen chegwa de shibuni ne chembori oda tida ani be samsamnal jizin mile namtarada ini jerimbuche namtarla soba tendijina 가수지 갈리게도 가수지 니르제도 되게 따와이나 애니 나란수 갈리까지 얘기가 엄마로와 갈리마게디 데리고 가보체 들어와 어떤 도스레 뒤도 시부지 얌 마고디 버 사회 타보지래 데 마고디야 줌바체나 kin 펜도요 말했어
The topic that we are studying this part of textbook, as we mentioned before, understanding of emptiness. Indeed, it is a difficult concept to understand, and when we look at Lama Tsongkhapa himself, how he kind of managed to understand this profound concept of emptiness. One of his teacher called Lama Umapa. He is from eastern region of Tibet, Kham, and within Kham, Chamdo area. So Lama Umapa, he had a vision of Manjushri since from his very early childhood. So once he was looking after his cattle or sheep, and when he woke up, he actually had a vision, of black Manjushri. And so Lama Tsongkhapa used kind of Lama Umapa as a medium to ask, all of these complicated, difficult philosophical questions to Manjushri through his teacher Umapa. And later, Lama Tsongkhapa himself had a vision of Manjushri, and when Manjushri kind of taught or responded to his questions, Tsongkhapa had a hard time understanding. He complained about not able to understand correctly, and then Manjushri advised to look and study texts such as commentary, Buddha Palita, and Fundamental Wisdom by Nagarjuna. So
te protechi libare shirmushi kogu midu zwe kyan chosa ndiba jangores ani pagi loga pene nembe mandesa nangwa.
And when Tsongkhapa had difficulty in understanding, Manjushri also advised to basically to accumulate positive merits, and because of that, Tsongkhapa went to retreat and did his mandala offering, accumulations of positive merits. And so in kind of going through this kind of difficult concept, understanding and learning of past great masters could be immensely beneficial. Just reading when you have a time the stories of Milarepa, Lama Tsongkhapa, how they have basically worked so hard, in getting message or understanding of the teachings, and being difficult, and then getting discouraged, it doesn't really help, So it is difficult. That is the true. That's true. And but however, when we look at ourselves, being a human being with human intelligence, there's every way to kind of, to make effort and make understand, and to further kind of encourage ourselves, thinking about altruism, having a Buddha nature, and those reading, the great liberating stories of the past masters, and one obvious reason is that it is difficult for us because basically we are not making any effort, So therefore we don't understand it, especially, and we know that fact when we look into great masters who have dedicated, so much in learning and studying, and we don't do any of those, and therefore, of course, it is difficult for us, So, but at the same time, there's, nothing beneficial in kind of discourage and not studying it.
Wada teni idola chik sunam sabala lab chimbu chamandana ngoni yundu niji minam kyangna shibuji sunam lab chimbu sabde se sungdwa yegende soda ngaranzo midu bogomya dedang eni niji gomya nene niga tabji chare niga geware inaya midu bogomna tendi기 니지고만 하신 손님 요마르스 송도와 니지고메다 손님 제르스 송도와 가르친 송도와 가르치까 가르치 개발해요 다디 대직 섬 당고도와 뭐니 유제매 땐 자왕인 순고 말이 규진 첨보여래 랍쟁이여래 미도 보검들나 보검지 율대 예랑 차수 차발추 첨보게다 강 차발게 율대 예배 미자만 제숨 수줄 다네 애니배 디 풍부의 미도 이도 뭐가지고 먹고 와라 간테 차반점에 했던달라 간지 보검지 율들이 찍 마다 용음도 와 니지곤도 카집기 심전 삼적이 라미베 에베 동안 단도기 남발로기나 미남 코랑 다기미도 대선을 랍참 비싸고 간제 손음 사야게 디제발라 디주 사주 예드메 대주간 갈 타고 와르 두스지니 저거 가인라 큐큐큐 니지 미남 직장투나 랍쟁이 알아서 거두스
To accumulate positive merits, there are many different ways, and one of the best way for us is just simply kind of contemplate, reflect quickly on the compassion, practice of compassion in our day-to-day life. Like say in the morning, spend a short time contemplating on compassion, and contemplation and compassion, or meditation and compassion. Reflection and compassion can be immensely beneficial in accumulating our positive merits, and there is a reason behind that. Although another aspect of meditation or contemplation, such as meditation on negative aspects, or maybe negative aspect, or maybe ugliness. Both of these two are meditation practice. Under the method of under the practice of method aspect, but when you look at these two, compassion practice is much more stronger effect in creating a positive merits. There's a big differences between these two, although both are method aspect, and there is a reason behind that. And ugliness or negative aspect, that kind of meditation is primarily used to reduce, to eliminate attachment on particular something, whatever that may be. And then when you reduce attachment, you intentionally look at the aspect on that object or thing that you are attached, impurities, negativities, such as we talk about 36 different impurities on human body. And so you intentionally kind of specify and focused on those, basically bad negative things, and then with that you reduce kind of psychologically your attachment or a desire. However, in practice of compassion meditation, when you look out, you try to kind of develop a compassion to unlimited space like sentient beings, that kind of attitude or way of thinking, even having a very short time quickly in the morning, could be very beneficial.
Watati junju nala bimeki luide sinji zungde yore. Kardana junju sungyulde sojan kabla sungre sikdoa. Sungyulde trabashi jire. Tindila kebala ni be gang chabake yulde bimeki lu chagore. Tigwangi jenit bimeki lu ki nimi sungre mada dimare. Ta kebaji luile tene bimeki dana kepe luide ne pe mizaman je sum sutu ta war ti maltana e tindawi karsore chapadi pontabi yungwa mare ko yuingone chikpa chikyang chare phame control to phumure di yore ti khajiki netende hamako gola ani jiwala ge phumo kebar chiki tu se 이 여름부터 참아 무지도아 어때 되게디 양 자르셔가데 빼 미시바 개침버리 그래서 디리 디제베이나 가나서 중질 따디가라 중디기 공반 된디지래도 여기다 타도 숨어야 돼 가나서 미자wen 제 숨수를 둠대긴지 풍부지 인진제 개비 루이나 찍바래 비메기 루이나 찍바래 간제티 미두 발타네 에니티 파기 둡자데 간제 텔레미니 차바미 히했던다 니 차바케나 동알케 거와티 dotin matudu gala dungal ki ngore ti kaya tapchi dusri otati jo yan kengwaji chagores ani ndin ma login ins kenadini
meditation or contemplation on impermanent, ugliness or negative aspect, we find such as that in Shantideva's book. In Shantideva's book, he particularly kind of ugliness or negative aspects of female body. But in that text, we need to know the context. It was considered to taught particularly to the audience of fully ordained, monk, and during the time of the retreat practice, and therefore being a male, most likely as happens, attachment towards female body. So he has to come up with using female body, and if that teachings was given to a female audience, that would be exactly opposite. Would be talking about the negative or ugliness of the male body, and we need to understand this entire kind of context and circumstances. Otherwise, there are practitioners or maybe scholars who are complaining to His Holiness that Shantideva was discriminating. However, that's not the case. When you look at the causal kind of perspective, seed, both female and male, are exactly the same. There's nothing different from that perspective. And the whole purpose here is to reduce, to eliminate attachment, because attachment, when uncontrolled, when not knowing how to deal with it, could become a cause of our own suffering. So to reduce the suffering, therefore we use this kind of understanding or contemplation. So with that, we will continue with the reading of the text.
Hoya kasang rangin luben dawe jab ki jalnes jupa ngarjil neki miyul pumpu yimba zawar kaching derwar tenne tape da mi par sumba tela ngau nyambe jimin kewa wishing pumpu la ngau nyambe lo jimin hein ngau nyambe lo ten mikewar rangi nyowala tabetse saljing kazani kyoam bume papaso krowa podang tarpapo so daji pumbola sene tapa inlas pumpi soyun sopadang sobajin yundang yunjin kan kaza mahindes wata ta bagi disung dong ranzu krowa korje zawa de kasani jugyotre kanji danzi mari balenki tinani jilti miba ta kone ngada ngairwa jilti miba ta ngada ngairwa ani di dembrande medenzin tigi tan vendilenki tigi ta krowa korje te jiung gore di krowa korje te jiung digala di minte di shigwar ta ji kondu jujuna minte di ta te minte dem nam mashi bardu pette ke chi bagi karsore dilam mane bardu ngazo ta ki wang ki chungwe nyomong re nanzi maribo wangi nyomong ke tuksum nyomong la soba ke di wangi lesa di yang lede ene be ngame legi ndibu zege zegi chima yang sage kanchi ngazo kora korche de la chi negin jitendang nang jugi jitengi je de nane zozo nyelengi pumpote dusjin yongkware nyelengi pumpote tape tende la jungi bonita tome mari yukuni sare ne pe tende la jungi lo soba ngame ne pe pen지기 레 망각도 치마 사도 사긴데 거로 와도 쓰네 님베 겹근데 거래 가면 디부 맞아가나 치민디부 치마니 두제기 귤도 쓰진 로데 거라 와다 되게 말이 받에 망가 버도다 타바생데 땐 자와니니 와요 말에 타르세데 레드 뉴몽 미친와를 타고 와라 오늘 타바세디가라 타바세네 민잠 다잠레세 숭도와 민잠 다잠 아니 다질테네 따잠지를 마도 그배 율수두문에 타반디리즈는 돈도지 땐 자와니니요 말에 돈때 뒤숭고래 돈다 엄마한테 송야돼 뒤숭고래 민다 잠기 따때나니 유족이 샌들 유행기 샌들아 티글라 샌들 토나티 간청아란소 벤진 티 시투문도 티 시발라 민장 타르섬기 샌들 티기 다 시투고 뜨두기 샌들 티 당이 담어도 시부 가버려서 숨도와 배 가버려서 숨도와 어디 즉 야네 양도 가나서 티 민샤 타르섬기 샌들기 다티 배대 살망 부시 차례 유무가지 가나서 두스레 어디 티디 토네 야네 양도 삼다 아니 즉 랑게 거저 제바데 티 또야게 에네베 즉 바게 시라 필리아당 소남사야당 덴데리에네 베 뭐에 대해네 베 상기 템바네야라 뭐 아니 티게 토끼 아니 라나 소남 라푸치사 아니 네던테 토야라 양네 양도 삼당 두스 지기나 펜다 용거라 간체 타르투사데 에 바게 마란조 낭줄드 시야데 따티 식 스디갈라 코 시제기 코 시버체발라 뢰상나 ngachu nangchul teda nisul kandejidu ani tela ani thanye mincha tayo samge zamo tongbani tigi ta dijini sigdoa chedamge nelu chima chijinde ani phage minza samgi phage jane chache chetuyadang ani ti sange nelu ti ngumate zamo tongbani tigi phage 가르쳐버렸다 간데슬라 버려 에 나랑주 젬브른 낭술 때라 아니 거기 따따지 디스 낭술 때선 데미도 텔리젠진 내출된 뒤에 누가 민사 참게네 빼 요아레 마도 원익이 율 코랑원의 수두디 연대긴 민도 삼삼진에 두스지 에 로차기 저기 띠제네 때 사무 땅기들아 애니 가르쳐 그래 그 텐들 세디갈라 애니 텐 세디갈라 매아지 텐 맨데긴지 가지 텐사 용인지 구유하지 델 세디갈라 애니 요데 거기니 수투디 연대긴지 미국인지 가지 디 버르다 디 가지 되는 디 승구도아 람제나라 나와 텐데 루아 메파 마랑도 나율데 나강 나와데 텐데 루아 메파 임바과도 아니 똥바 시디글라 란진 기투베 똥줄데 아니 베 때문에 동박 헬렌 달we 과세도아 바기 헬렌 시두갈라 타니에 타모 바기 직 메나 베 라징이 마두나 텐 테멜라베 베나 라데 에네베 제다 마와단 선잠발라 소바나지 코 바기 라징이 마두나 저 미시바테 아마임바 티페 타니에 타미 과지 레비네 동바 라징이 뭐 과니 지시 소세 나와 요바테스도 딩이 나와 수수수수 요이나 딜라이네 다둥 상기 좀 된데기 샌들기 과 또요 말에 제송도아 따티 나와 텐들 루아 메바당 동바 딩이 찌찌 과 텐들 루아 메바레 시디갈라 라진이 머두바 임바 꼬투빈진게 라진이 머두바스네 때는 중앙이 뭐 꼬투긴지 중나 다 오니 즉 동리길 따발라 또서 당이 바기 갈삼지 to tu ya dindi ki kwaji lebgi sare ngai chi ma chi jin de shi du min du de oda di in sare ingyu ganji tonda ma shi ya de mari balen ki 진줄 디시 거때 시발라 코든 진삼이 무슨 가와지기 로고 거때 동반이 로데 동반이 또 벨로텐로 마도 딜리전트 땐 자완이네요 맞다 데리
If you have a book, same book, it's on page 122, second paragraph. Our own system comes from the words of the Master Chandrakirti, who in his supplement thoroughly rejects the premise that the focal object of the innate conception of the quote and unquote I is the aggregates. In his commentary to the supplement, by saying that the imputed self is the focal object, he implies that the thought of an I, quote and unquote I, must arise naturally in relation to it. And with regard to such things as the aggregates, the thought of quote and unquote mind naturally arises. Never the thought of I, quote and unquote I. Since we reject the aggregates as being the self, only the thought of mind can arise in relation to them. The thought of I cannot do so because it arises as an imputation in dependence on the aggregates. This will become clear when we examine our own experience. Every person, whether a man or woman, an exalted or ordinary individual within cyclic existence or liberated from it, is designated in dependence upon the aggregates which form the basis of designation. In this regard, neither the continuity of the assembly of the aggregates, nor the assembly, nor the parts of the assembly, nor the continuity itself, nor even the one to whom that belongs are the person. So the point here is that understanding of this as we were talking before, this appearance. When we go back further, that distorted view, we call it innate self-grasping. Sometimes we call view of transitory migrator. Basically, viewing that I or self exists independently, inherently. And we have that kind of view, way of apprehension, and we need to destroy that distorted view. And because of that distorted view or delusion or not knowing, we create karmic action, and because of diluted karmic action creates a result is a suffering, and that leads kind of unending cycle in the cyclic existence. And when we look at the cycle of through such as 12 links of dependent origination, beginning with the ignorance, and in all of this cycle, most important part is understanding of one's own self or person. How does that self or person exist? And ignorance related to this kind of a self or person or I. When we say liberation literally means freedom, and freedom itself is freedom from karmic action and ignorance. And again, freedom here is just like a person or self. It's merely a designation or label given upon. There's nothing objectively existing or inherently existing. So we need to kind of destroy this truth grasping view, distorted view. And again, here, as we were talking before, we are talking about what we call a subtle designation, subtle labeling, according to the highest school of thought, which is difficult to kind of understand, comprehend. And and with that kind of developing kind of understanding of how things exist out there, along with that, also kind of important to accumulate positive merits and dedications. So as we were saying before, we need to destroy the mode of apprehension that we have of phenomena which is distorted or which is wrong. And when we are saying that is that way of apprehension is distorted, there is a reality which is not, which is opposite of how things appears to us or how we apprehend things. And the reality is, these things exist merely at the level of designation, imputation, and that merely designation and imputation functions everything perfectly. There's nothing wrong in that. Everything's goes as it should be, just being merely a designation and merely a label. And so this understanding, that things doesn't exist independently, objectively, and that there is another reality, versus what and how things appears to us. So and these two concepts comes together here. One is dependent origination, dependent arising, and on the other hand, emptiness. And these two concepts must go together. And these two concepts, if you understood properly, these two are nothing separate, but just one with a different aspect. So quoting Lama Tsongkhapa's short text, Three Principal Aspects of the Path, Tsongkhapa mentioned that so long as the true understandings of appearance, which is undeceiving dependent origination, and emptiness devoid of all these, remain separate, so long you have not realized the intent of the sage. As long as you perceive dependent origination on the one hand and emptiness on the other hand, totally two kind of separate thing, that means you haven't understood the true intent of the enlightened beings, sage or Buddhas. So the point here is that then when we understand dependent origination, we are also understanding, or should be understanding, emptiness aspect of it. So when we say dependent origination, what does it mean? It means things lack independent existence, inherent existence. Therefore, it implies truth of emptiness. And when you are talking about or teaching about emptiness, what it means? Empty means it doesn't mean nothingness. It means exist through dependent origination. So again, it implies the existence or validity of dependent origination. So these two concepts must kind of complement, go together in the dependent origination and emptiness.
What that Fernanda Dismudada, Ferna Shinza in la Palo Sola Tene Tapa Ingis, Shinza Sia the Daddy, Shindi Yanla Mambo, Soba, the Palo Soba, then Mambo Tolka, some degrees, Tagares. The Yanla Redewatan, Sobayan Shinta Mines, the Yanata Shinta Mambo Chadua, and it did the Nasi and the Pumbungal Tantana, and it Pumbungade. Ngayo ganajing ngayo gure ta tinbe umijung de na thalwa mong ba ya ro ta tin zon de sha ro ta che beche thang du samtang thang du stang gu gare du stane ne kanji ji ngaran zu zimbalen ki de shi ke thablam re kanji ti mashi por du yo yo mare wa ta ti e ti mebe ta ji kar sore min sam za sam 랑윈더 민데 파르달라 세야데 고아 오타가가 라 렙고라 민삼 다sam기 자체강가 제트고라 수두기 두베 있는다 유로균 타임에 그 차도고라 에니티 데사 에 바게 넘버 2 소나 에니 센데기 넬루고란 되게 말제데 수노도와 여러분 지양에도 수도가 되게 와다 되기랑 좀 삼당고라 펜 빼미스 고마 제거할 차고래 소바양 시다마인데 놀래 지단이라 손놈라 텐니 신사 줘봐인 대진 풍부 남텐니 군수 샘진 지저도 세다 당에도 에니베 말아서 자제 태바 때가 랑기 따빼파기 민다 다삼기 에니 군수게 샘진기 자제 율린 디부기와 디불에 에니베 yulin divu tiyodan divu yula pen docha yimbada dige de kanga tu tön tumde kinjiri se sungu ara ta te jila tön tumde ken tanyi la te mato tön uma ngang zu nang zu ni dember tumde kinji mares sungu ara ta chode 인규 ngarang zu nang zu de na jinji de rubya mares sungu ara ta ndang ma de tere Jesus 가자겐 조선 딜타부는 뭐부터 코나니 뉴도 토페 탑 잠부지데 주네 남킨 기퍼 최군라 리 장워자오 된 다티 딘도 안서 낭술 가르지 나나 낭술들라 아주 낭술들라 가래거래 베낭 코란 데디여와 딘디 네디 유디가라 티 낭술데 아주 낭술데 최탐적나 낭술 따라 집어 찍냐로 마다때 zurdu nangsulchi yaw mare ngacho nangsulde tati nangsulde dir chik ngarangso sangiji tanda ngacho choki tuku tani jayage kokabe yaw mare lo nidonga gekona tuke kona choki tukun jarere kazi choki tukun jale ina tande ngacho khatabal tana pagi choki tuku su tuptu zembar tubaji nangiram mada tipe tun tubaji ngacho 나와 차례 거라요 말이 제가 주는 남편 봐도 가서 나줄 강가에 배 린다 세다 따들이 말아서 나줄들 된지 마도요 말아 나줄 친지로 오지 마도 가서 나줄들 된자 니루 무민 나줄들 nango marwata te sunguesare tinde kansa rajing me batan bablas tinde indikala du su samadane eni pe chik samadane eni nga sindi pagi chutu tuba mayimba ngaya min tenin juayimba wada chik pagi ngairwa dan tenin juayimba ta du sine sam rajing matuba tenin jungdila rajing tuba ko yul kurangune pagi chutu tubiyo mare gykenle tegu ware yani mingal tegu ware yani chada chajanle tegu ware ringdung kareina ngazu tuni jagorwa tuni majana ringboina ringbo dembar tubajina ringbo tartu jinko kre teli ringi gyun mende genji tungduina tungdu tartu ji yogu ware teli tungi gyun mende genji
tirma subject khawa shikisha
la
텐데 강사랑시 매버 때나 파바라 나랑시 매버 때나 파바다 나이 와랑시 매버 때나 파바 오션 당보 내려네 근데 그 딩에데부터 잠사신 서브젝트 사로 근데 드라마 그지 숄 시간 지글어서 그 서브젝트 가가르시 텐데 강사랑시 매버 때나 파바라 나랑시 매버 때나 파바다 나이 와랑시 매버 때나 파바 오
다디 추기 다음에 강사가 다음에 두기 받는 간지 강가 뛰는 주바지마도 기지 땐 자원이 말했으러와 진디가랑 오네 맞아 zembar tum나 링보이나 링보 zembar tu바지나 링보 터두 퉁퉁 zembar tu바는 퉁퉁 터두 지긴 구와래 다티 간지 덴데데 인디가랑 나랑주 돈당 외마다 낭줄티 시고야 돼 외마다 때 숨고래
page 112, 122, continue with the reading. So I need to change my... Okay. Page 122, middle of third paragraph. Take the example of a chariot. It is designated in dependence upon its various parts, such as the wheels. None of its individual parts, nor the collection of the parts, is the chariot. Likewise, it is said in a sutra, just as we speak of a chariot dependent on the collection of parts, so we speak of a sentient being conventionally independent on its aggregates. So we see here this very, a typical example of chariot. What is chariot? It is merely a designation, given upon all those parts put together. If each individual parts of the chariot is chariot, then there are many chariots in one chariot, And likewise, we find that, when we examine I or self on our body, if different parts, 5 aggregates are self or person individually, then there are 5 person in me, which is logically, contradiction. And so there are many kind of those logical kind of fallacy that we find in the text. And so, but however, these are ways of, using analysis of finding, self or person. Such a technique for determining the selflessness of a person is one of the best methods for cognizing the reality of things quickly. The same reasoning should be applied to all phenomena from form up to the omniscient mind, in order to determine in such a way that there is no inherently existent person. We establish that there is no inherently existent I, and then that there is no inherently existent mind. So as we mentioned before, again, a self or a person, or example chariot, is merely a designation. That is the reality. And but however, when we see things, when we comprehend or apprehend, we see as if things exist independently, solidly, objectively, self-sufficiently, without anything to do with dependence. And however, the reality is that every phenomena is by nature, as we were talking before, when we say emptiness, lack of inherent existence, they are by nature dependent origination. When we say cause and effect, there is an effect because there is a cause. And there is a cause because there is an effect or result. So these are all in a dependent origination, dependent originated. And if something exists independently or inherently or truly or intrinsically, according to this philosophy, Buddhist philosophy here, then they must exist kind of independently. If something exists independently, then that means it doesn't have to rely upon any causes and factors and conditions. It has to be totally complete independent. And that means that doesn't follow rules of cause and effect. Again, there are lots of philosophical kind of fallacies if we accept that kind of understanding. But however, it says from form up to omniscient mind. Not only when we look at our own self or person or this body, we have this distorted, wrong understanding, but we have that distortion equally from the really kind of basic, which is our own body form, up to the highest level of omniscient mind. Even if we see real Buddha teaching in front of us, we would have the same kind of that wrong apprehension that Buddha's body exists self-sufficiently, independently, objectively. But however, that's not the case. Even when we use lack of inherent existence or existence, relatively, there is not something which is ultimately, in ultimate sense, long or short. There's when something is considered short, if you bring a longer, that becomes, if something is considered short, when you become something shorter, it becomes a long. So there's nothing objectively, independently existence of, but all are dependent origination or relative kind of existence.
Ta tendi kanza ranjing me par tam telam papa la nga ranjing me par telam papa tang nga ranjing me par telam papa nga yu ranjing me par telam papa us tang ngone nga zu da pagi dijide umanju ban so na jinje tambo nga je da la jingyu chi da gin diju nga la cha gi ba zer sungu arwa tambo jita gi nga de bar tu ba ji nang nga zembar tuwaji na na jinji zembar tuwan zin te wangi nyomochi te wangi de di ni ne pe nga ta ngai ruwa se te jili mi pa de la ta nga ta ngai mi pa ni ja gore wata ti ni ga ne pe longtemps de chi sung go sare ta ti ri ani te la ta ngai ruwa se di gala mi na lo mi pe nga go nyambe lo ji ki go ro ga so pongpole mi ne ni se lo ji ki gore de lo de yang ta ba ma ro lo chin ji lo de yo wa o da te so ji pa gi ka ji sung go re ka go re dan ba in si ta pe de ra ji me pa ni pe ko nga rang su nang zul de lo chin ji lo de wa ta te ra ji me pa dan ba bin dan ba ba si tamboni Ramikil tawa yule kibetse chi tural so indiyul mami badang sendil ki ta so ngaldami be tenji ki kyun me pala tenne hiawao thomar rangul ta te kaza ke dan jin lenki ki jinul ngwe zimba ne chedes thomar rangul ta te kaza ke jinlu odat reda tati ngaranzu kisana junaje ngaranzu nangzulde la phage di yang yang do sam tanche ini jun shepe phage rikbate da ini rangi nangzulde yang do jarne samrutama ina chik ti kale late tiningam to soasa sunamasa dus chigina te kale mado hopte kala yung eji da khabore wata tini danjilni ki jinlu so ngwenjima nechiz da ti nenga chicho da ngaran so khoro khorchinginde danjilni ki mari palne ki cha gore tin jimba de shi gore ne chicho da tere khoro khorchuginde tere ti shina nam ti shi bala khodan jinang ngwesung galwe lo ane nga raji me bata be lotiki tap phagi mi pachi limi ninjidang usungalwe lochiki tati njinjul di shi kuware, njinjul measo kuware wata te sungore, te nechambore se sungore sare.
Page 123. Firstly, when we generate the view of selflessness in our mental continuums due to the faultless logical reasoning of being free from being inherently one or many, the connected object, true existence, is not observed, and through the reasoning of dependent arising, the opposite of true existence is observed. Having examined our own continuums to begin with, the vital point is to recognize how the innate misconception of self of persons conceives its object. This has already been explained. I and then mine, these two things, we find these two mentioned in the engaging the middle with text. First we starts from this my, or first we start from I, and then which we called view of transitory recollection. This that I exist independently, inherently. Because of that distorted views, it kind of generates then mine, I and mine. And again, the point here is that we really need to kind of think about how things appears to us, to our mind, and how things exist in reality. And the existence of reality is what we find in these kind of explanations, which is, as we have saying before, a little hard to understand. But again, it's a very kind of gradual processes. Along with intellectual understanding, in Buddhism we talk about support of positive accumulations of merits. Merits. So combining these two, learning, studying again and again, examining, and then the accumulations of positive merits, we can come to actual understanding of this contradiction between how things appears to us and how things exist in reality. And here, it talks about the beginning with the importance of innate misconception of self or person, and because this innate misconception of self or person, this itself is what we consider as the root cause of the cyclic existence. And in order to understand this misconception of the self or person, we need to kind of basically have the exact opposite of that thought, antidote, which becomes the exact opposite, which is understanding of a lack of true existence, inherent existence of I or self. Because these two mode of apprehension, one that's seeing I as innately, inherently existing, independently existing, on the other hand lack of inherent, both of these two thought mode of apprehension, they are aiming at the same object, same target, that is self. But when you look at the nature of the thought or understanding, these are two complete opposite. So these two are complete contradictory opposite that cannot coexist on same object. So when we have an actual understanding, that innate misconception will automatically disappear.
tindigalata sendel dela gas tungbanilla number tharba go sirdo go sede titona tharba yoba ti matona tharba me insa kachi ngaranzo mari balenkin ngada ngai win zimbalenki di shiala tat tongi to belote khona mado telejimbe tabjenda me insa tel number tharba go sirsudo
So we find in the text, this understanding of emptiness as only entrance to liberation, to freedom. There is no other option to remove this kind of innate misconception, distortion, and only through understanding of emptiness one can attain liberation or freedom, and there is no other door or no other second option, and this is the only option that serves as a direct antidote to this innate misconception of self or phenomena.
Da pechalo yanyandu jenda dende lo animbe kebisitula matumba mabuar di kaptutela ngichi dingi ju chigi mendula ngana laba chigi mare odatezo yambe kebisitu matune di tajido marezete samtangyo amare di kaptula kunjen jajibe omba khayare benjenge tege omba marayore odate ti da jizumbe ngi man jaimanyonde odatezo shizu kebake te omba shisul manda tenden yore odate ti yanyandu kebi omba shisulde pes가 전부 개발 전부 여래. ena 신시 주나 이긴 넘버 10은 윤리를 하고 세대 도지 티지요래. 때로 군진 자한집에 공부지들 만다요래. 벤징 공부지들 만다요래. 뒤인디가라 군진 자한집하게 배 이긴 넘버 10도 윤 만다요 되가라 녀몽 윤데 차장 빵차제네. 아니 배윤 소소소소는 여래서 공부할래. 벤징이 윤지를 타바나지 윤제레야세데 윤지로 공부하지네 아니 도시들가라 파핑님자 이지기라 샘게 메시고다 고다 공부하셔서 때 두고 와래 어떻게 어디가라 그be 공부했다 와대 집배제지다 도시네 그be 공부했다 파는 가자제요 말에 렘상 그 공부했다 또 가르려고 공도 가르치는 데 순고 돈도 대서 공부 살고 와야 돼 내천벌이 오다 도스레 내디 단다 라베도 군조 가서 왔다 이 타고 싶으지래 고거에 민도다 나고는 주술소리지래 오다 도스지네 타투사든 안한주 마리 발랭키 나이르랭키 띠까고야 돼다 딜라니 네바지 용아야 돼 탑람띠 란 디용아야 돼 자모통바니 마도 요마레 제숭아 돼 따티 이게지게다 막 해봐 내지나 오다티가라 달고래 다티리 Yeni soldier church. karchan battery shibit zawdo de.
So this section, as we were saying before, if interested, it's needed to read again and again, not only just this text, but if you can, other commentaries by other scholars, because this section, there are many different interpretations by different scholars, such as, there's interpretations by a great scholar, Kunchen Javan Shepa, there's an interpretation by Penchen, Sonam Thapa, great another master, and each has different interpretations of this, what we are talking here. And for example, in the sutra, there's a expression that mental stream of mental consciousness is continuity of individualities. There's a one sentence, but there's a interpretation by a Javan Shepa, a great scholar. He says that each consciousness being separate, therefore each afflictions being separate entity, it must be all kind of eliminated individually or separately. And then Penchen Sonam Thapa, his interpretation is whole different. He says that he takes it as that consciousness is a continuation, of many different individual consciousness or individual, and therefore even at the level of meditative equipoise state of mind, there is no altruistic mind. So, but it's just one example of how two different great scholars comes up with the two totally different interpretation. And so you were saying that it was difficult for him to explain clearly because of the content itself. And however, the conclusion that we can draw from this part of the text is that we need to stop or cease or challenge this innate misconception of which is deluded, distorted. And in order to do that, the only kind of antidote that we can apply is wisdom of emptiness, and that is something that is commonly accepted by all school of thoughts and all scholars. We'll take a break here.